Chair now recognize Mr. Donalds from Florida for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, Mr. Chairman, I do want to recognize fellow Floridian, Mr. Duane, or Dr. Duane, my apologies. I want to make sure I get it right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come up here. The rest of the witnesses, thank you so much for your time as well. Dr. Duane, I'm going to start with you. In your testimony, you described PBMs as the monster in a nightmare. You care to elaborate on that? And also, do you think the rest of the witness panel would agree with your characterization?
So my wife and I bought the pharmacy with an SBA loan. We saved up what money we needed in order to put the money down. The rest of it we used an SBA loan for. That was in 2016. Since 2016, PBM vertical integration, the steering that they do to push their patients to their own affiliated pharmacies has increased dramatically. If I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done the same thing. So in that, I say that what I saw to be a wonderful opportunity, what I hope can still be a great opportunity for my community, is in peril because specifically the things that we've talked about today. So in that, what we believe to be the real American dream, owning your own business, you know, owning your own destiny, that kind of thing, it's been a whole lot tougher than what we thought it would be.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment? Dr. Atkins, Mr. Baker?
Yes, I would agree. As I mentioned in my testimony, when I first became a physician, I could just focus on taking care of patients. Now, every day I have to fight a faceless corporation who doesn't do what I do, doesn't understand what I do, and really doesn't care. They try to tell me how to take care of my patients, what drugs I can and cannot use. They take prescriptions from my patients, delay their care, delay them. In another example of the mail order, I've had patients where some chemotherapy agents require a certain temperature for the drug. So these medications are sometimes left on their front porch in the heat of the summer. So when they get the drug, it may be too hot, and then we don't know if it's still effective. Sometimes the drugs are lost and the patient's still charged. These are obstacles for patients. Sometimes PBMs also mandate the use of an innovator product instead of using a less expensive biosimilar. And all these things interfere with patient care. They also destroy the patient's hope and destroy their quality of life.
Okay. Mr. Baker? I can see you.
Thank you.
You have bated breath over there, Mr. Baker. Go ahead.
Yes, no, thank you. And I think even a different spin on this, I think we've talked a lot about the independent pharmacist and the patient impact, but even from the employer perspective, we deal with a lot of the largest employers in the country, and they don't get access to their data. So they don't really know what they're paying for their medications. They don't see at the claim level how much rebate dollars are making back to buy down the cost of their health care. So this lack of data is a real problem. If we go to any manufacturers and ask what they're paying for aluminum, what they're paying for tires, what they're paying for any of the other vendor services that they use, they can tell you almost exactly at that CFO level. But for some reason, when it comes to PBMs, everybody's okay saying, well, gosh, I don't get the data, I don't know. And that lack of data causes a lot of real problems, in our opinion.
Mr. Baker, real quick, and probably in the last minute and a half, can you expand on the transparency piece of it, and really how do you think transparency through PBMs? And by the way, you know, I see you over there, Claudia. Claudia Devant, worked with her when I was back in the state legislature when we took on some reforms to PBMs back in Florida. But could you comment to what those adjustments federally would kind of look like, and what that level of transparency would mean for consumers and for medical professionals, and obviously in the field of medicine?
Yes, thank you. I think it goes back to, again, if you look at any other industry, consumers can make a decision on how much they want to pay for something and what profit is okay. You know, that's the basic form of capitalism. And I think we've tried to live in a world where that applies to the pharmacy industry, and unfortunately it doesn't, because that same level of visibility into cost and profit do not exist in our space. And because of that, then it has continued to drive up profits that hurt American corporations. They need to then continue to increase premiums for their overall health plan. And then unfortunately, all the people where 55% of self-funded employers use coinsurance and high deductible health plans, when those PBMs are preferring brand over lower cost generic options, when the patient shows up at the pharmacy counter, they have to pay a percentage of a much higher cost. So pretty significantly across the board, those higher cost decisions are made. They're made in a way that's always, to me, at the detriment of the American corporation and family, and it absolutely needs to be something we continue to address.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks so much for everybody being here. Mr. Chairman, a great hearing. We should continue this work, and I'll yield back.